Hello and welcome to the Deutsche Goldmesse. Welcome to the Gold Newsletter channel that I'm hosting together with our good friend Brien Lundin, who is in New Orleans this week, and I'm hoping he's having great success with his conference. But I'm here in Frankfurt, and I'm joined by Jean-Marc Staude.
It's great to be with you.
He's President and CEO of Riverside Resources, and Jean-Marc, thanks so much for coming out to Frankfurt.
Well, this is great. Your show has been excellent. The meetings we've had have been tremendous. It's fun to also be at Brien. I love being there, and so it was really difficult for me to know, was I going to go there or here? Thank you for inviting us to be here.
Yeah, it's difficult to split up, right? So we get it, and next year will be much better and different, and no overlap, I promise. So, Jean-Marc, Riverside Resources, first time on the Gold Newsletter channel. We do have to give a bit of a company introduction. Give us a 60-second overview, and then we'll dive into some of the specifics.
You bet. Riverside is a prospect generator. We're well cashed up with over $5 million in the bank. We have a good share structure over 17 years, only 75 million shares out. We have programs in 3 countries, Mexico, United States, and Canada. And right now, we're at a transformational step of working on our 8th Spinout company, our 8th transaction out of Riverside. So it's a great time to be on the Gold Newsletter.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, no, great overview. You're an old company. Like I used to say when I was on the board of one company years ago, and they pride themselves, we've been around since the 80s.
Wow.
Right? So it was like, and I'm looking at it, it's like, in mining, when you were around this long, did you have success? Or are you having success? Is an interesting question because the goal for everybody is, let's get acquired, right? How do you define success?
For us, it's been very successful. One is that we've been able to help different corporations form, and we've been owners of them. Secondly, we've been involved in projects that have developed royalties. We have over 14 a royalty portfolio, and we've not had to buy them. The third is we haven't blown up. We have only 75 million shares out, not rolled back, 5 million cash, and been involved in being able to pay every bill, never having a lawsuit, and being able to stand here and still go forward with discovery. So that I see as success in many ways.
Absolutely. Usually the second question I ask is about cap structure and balance sheet. Let's do that now. 75 million shares outstanding is quite a feat. Run us a bit through it. Any options, warrants? You mentioned cash positions 5 million. Who are some of the bigger investors?
So it's interesting, we don't have any warrants because we haven't financed in 4.5 years. So we have had no financings. The last financings we didn't have warrants either. So there's no warrants. We haven't had warrants in the full 2020 onward, no warrants. Secondly, from a cash position, we get cash from selling our properties. So we do deals recently with Fresnillo, where we sold our lead asset in Mexico, the Tajitos project, and kept a 2% NSR. That project is amazing. It has a large resource, it's moving ahead, Fresnillo is developing it, and we have the 2% royalty. Where we have our ownership is Europe. That's why I'm here. It's great. I love going to New Orleans, and Brien has been a super supportive. That's good. But we have 40% Europeans. After this conference, I go down to Zurich and Geneva, where we have shareholders. But it's wonderful to be here in Frankfurt. I came here 2 days before your conference and had different meetings. So for us, shareholders in Europe. Secondly, our sales management, 10%. And then in North America, having about 15% held with nice funds and things like that. So a really broad holding in Riverside after 17 years.
Fantastic. One beef I have with prospect generators is that they usually have joint venture partners that don't pay them enough to cover G&A. And then they have to come out and finance. You mentioned you didn't have to finance for 4.5 years, so obviously you got a joint venture model figured out. Run us a bit through that. How's that capital coming in? Like, what does that look like, and is it covering G&A?
We've been really lucky to work with major companies. Myself, having done my PhD in Arizona, working with BHP and Magma, we had a great relationship. So that helped. Working with BHP over the last half decade or more provided a lot of income. Now working with Fortuna Mining, so that covers a lot of our costs. So G&A is made up of 2 parts, the administrative part and the investor relations part. So the investor relations part is what it is. We spend about 1/7 of our annual budget, about $300,000, that is just spent on that, and that's to create liquidity, to help investors to come in, to come to these conferences, cover the people, and to really work on that. Not a crazy amount, but really to do that. The second is the back office, but we do charge a 10% fee for our joint venture work. By charging that 10% fee and being very careful, so last night after dinner I was back going through the financial statements. Here it is, the middle of the month.
Was dinner that expensive that you should go through the financial statements
again? We didn't even buy dinner. That's the good thing. It's like working with other people and stuff.
Yeah.
So really careful, and my dinner we didn't have any alcohol. So we really kept the price down. And
Yeah.
so it was good. So it's really careful. We'll always be very careful with capital, and it's really good. So yeah, we have a very good financial and you're right. You got to get really good joint venture partners, a lot of them, and particularly make sure you're keeping track of not overspending.
Yeah. In Germany, you have to pay for the water, though, which is a bit different than maybe
It
elsewhere
is
in the
true.
world, right?
It was bubbly though.
Oh, there you go. Fancy. No, John Mark, like if you were to describe the business model, you said prospect generator, but you also have a ton of royalties in the portfolio. Is it maybe a bit of a hybrid model now? Like, is it, and you also drill your own projects, so is it still a prospect generator model is the question.
So I'd say that we're building businesses and we're always keeping a royalty. So you could say it's a royalty generator model. I've always been focused on royalties right from the beginning. And so throughout the time, 2007, all the way through, we've always been getting royalties, getting good royalties and kicking out projects. So we're not trying to have a large portfolio, but have a very high quality. Secondly, yeah, we drill our projects. Each project we've drilled so far has eventually ended up with a resource in that property. So we don't take high risk drilling. We drill to add value, and we don't drill a second round. We drill that first round, and then it creates, for example, the new company spinning out is a more advanced project. But if we were trying to spin it out without that drilling, then it wouldn't have. That drilling gave our shareholders the chance for upside. Simply, we didn't keep going forward. Now, if I can make the money back on it, the business works. But if I don't make the money back, then we have a net loss. But if I can generate royalties for a very low loss, that's a really winning business overall.
Absolutely. Are you considering selling the royalties at all, or is the model is to keep them in there and maybe turn it into a royalty company at some point?
Yeah, we have a royalty portfolio and we have a royalty deck. I think we're always open to different business, but I think right now we're glad that Riverside is in that strong position and we don't need cash. But for shareholders to realize you have that intrinsic value. So with a 10 million market cap right now, with 5 million cash, that makes an enterprise value of only 5 million.
Yeah.
You have 14 royalties on a non-43-101 basis. We have over 3.5 million ounces of heap leach gold in the portfolio with a royalty of 2%. You look at those NPV values and it's amazing. So we're in a really good intrinsic sense. So yes, it could be sold at some point, but we're not looking to market it right now.
So part of the business model is to spin out companies and assets as well. You're doing the 8th spin out now. Tell us a bit about it. What's the valuation? What are you doing? What are Riverside shareholders getting out of it?
So we're really excited. Basically, and we made the move from Mexico over 5 years ago. We kept Mexico, but developed in Ontario. Ontario, we did drilling, we did exploration, built up a portfolio. It's called Blue Jay Resources today. We recently moved the properties from Riverside down to Blue Jay, and now we're able to move forward with the vote of the shareholders to then approve a spin out. So we're right on track. We've done this, as you say, this is the 7th time, now the 8th time we're doing it, so a great condition. So during February and early March, we'll have the vote, and then at that point, we'll go ahead and do the spin out. So it's really progressing on track, doing the financial statements. Riverside has the cash, but also will bring new capital into it. You asked about the valuation. Part of that's the market. It's not been yet determined, but we can see that. Secondly, you asked about the timing. We'll do the shareholder vote at our AGM. That way it really keeps the cost down. So the AGM has not been set, but it would be the end of February, early March.
Gotcha.
So that's a perfect time, and it really fits with our lining up the other things. So we're just going through the steps to line up the things, and particularly we've done the 43-101 technical report. We've got that filed, now working with the exchange, just to make sure that we do it all as cost effectively as possible, and we have a great CEO, Jordy Mark. Wonderful to have him 100% on the project, and the company and the Vice President, Freeman Smith, ready to go with the management team of Blue Jay.
Fantastic. Tell us about Blue Jay, the project itself. Like, what are you spinning out?
So actually, it's a portfolio. It's a business. We're 3 assets. The first one, Pichette, high grade, in the Beardmore-Geraldton Belt. Why be there is Ross Beatty built the great company Equinox Gold, which is doing wonderful. The lead asset in there is the Hard Rock Mine that's producing 300,000 ounces of gold. Very large, but low grade. So Pichette is high grade. The operations around Pichette in the past mined at ounce per ton. Over 1 million ounces in less than 1 million tons. Super high grade. So we believe high grade easily could fit into the larger, lower grade operation of Equinox Gold. Equinox Gold being the 4th largest open pit gold mine in all of Canada. And here's high grade next to it. The other second project, the Oaks project, again, high grade, only 20 kilometers from the mine at Geraldton. So really good location. And the third asset, again, nice epithermal, orogenic gold, nice structural zones for those gold, those type of gold deposits like you have in the Abitibi. This is part of the Abitibi belt, the West Abitibi. So 3 assets in Blue Jay.
Nice. What are the first plans? Like you said, technical reports are done. Like, what
we're ready to drill. We're ready to
drill.
It's all lined up. Very excited to do that. We've done all the work. We've done the geophysics, done the exploration. So basically, it's the point where Riverside, if we continue to do it as Riverside, we're no longer a generator company.
Gotcha.
So we've done all the work, ready to go, teed it up. So the best thing for shareholders is to give them shares.
Gotcha.
And the best thing to do is to raise money specifically on that with no other dilution. So there's no cheap shares, there's no penny shares, there's nothing, there's no options, there's no warrants. It's simply the capital that comes in is directly put into some geophysics and drilling and overall a program of exploration. And so you immediately get the upside from Blue Jay.
No, because the valuation hasn't been set, the ratio hasn't been set.
The ratio hasn't been set.
Okay, gotcha.
The last ratio we did was 4-to-1. Generally, we've done 5-to-1, 4-to-1 type of ratios historically in the past. As a general context, the ratio has not been set on this one.
So 4 Riverside shares for
Riverside,
one?
correct.
Gotcha.
4 Riverside shares for one of the other company.
Gotcha.
And generally, it's been, at the end of the day, about half the Riverside shareholders and half new money coming out after the IPO once it's financed, generally.
After the spin-out, what's Riverside left with, and what are the plans moving forward?
Well, I'm super excited because Riverside's, the portfolio of royalties continues to be there. So you asked, is Riverside becoming a royalty company? Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
Great. Also, Riverside still has good programs in British Columbia. Riverside has rare earth elements and gold in British Columbia, and Riverside has the portfolio in Mexico. 2 things in Mexico. One, it is joint venture partners. Also, we have our own portfolio. So we jokingly say, oh, well, now we have Red Jay. We have the next portfolio out of Riverside. And at that point, we are simply a royalty company. So that's wonderful. So Riverside is teeing itself up to be a clean royalty company, potentially and easily some type of structured deal. But we've been going 17 years. We're an old company, and we have not had super dilution. So we're in a really good position to do some type of transformational steps, be what it is. So we're glad to do that. Yeah, so we're really in a good position. So Blue Jay follows upon after Capitan. Capitan took the lead asset out of Mexico. We got the deal for Tajitos over to Fresnillo. So we've really completed. So right now Riverside has great upside as a Riverside shareholder because you're getting all those things. So right now is a great time to get into Riverside.
Absolutely. No, fantastic. Jean-Marc. Next news releases we can expect is probably more details on the spin out. Anything else like you can look forward to?
Drilling results. So drilling results, we have Fortuna Mining drilling, and that's completed. The guys are sawing the core, going in. So we're looking forward to those results. That's the big upside in the short term, and that's a big district. Titled, permitted drilling next year going forward as well with Fortuna Mining. But for us, drill results right there could be the transformational step. We would still do Blue Jay, but that would take Riverside take off as we've seen with other prospect generators like Virginia, like Mirasol, the companies that have been involved like Reservoir Minerals. All of those had examples of discovery with a partner that took the stock up. So those results are very exciting as well.
Fantastic. Jean-Marc, thank you so much for joining us here in Frankfurt. Really appreciate it. Hope you had a good time and having a good time.
Oh, I am, Kai. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Fantastic. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this conversation here with Jean-Marc Staude, hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us out tremendously, and we do appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with lots more here on the Gold Newsletter channel. Thank you.